Good evening and welcome to the Autism Puzzle. I'm Jared Smalley.
And I'm Ellie Merritt. We are glad that you are here tonight for an important hour. We plan to share some critical information, tell inspiring stories, and answer any questions you might have about the autism spectrum disorder.
And we've tonight assembled a panel of experts for you. Our call 4 lines are open for you for any autism-related questions you may have, from warning signs and diagnosis of autism to potential therapies or even long-term care and assistance. We've assembled experts representing Ocali, Autism Speaks, Step by Step Academy, the Learning Spectrum, and Autism Society of Central Ohio. Our phone number, 614-821-4444.
And new to the show this year, we also have experts here at the station as part of our live chat on Facebook. This is neat. You can pull it up on your phone or tablet. Just go to the NBC4 Facebook page and you'll see our live chat there at the top of the page. You can ask our experts a question there. Again, that's at the NBC4 Facebook page for our Autism Puzzle live chat.
Let's start with the basics. Autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a group of developmental disabilities that can cause significant social, communication, and behavioral challenges. People with ASD may communicate, interact, behave, and learn in ways that are different from most other people. Some warning signs for ASD include avoiding eye contact or social interactions, repetitive actions and habits, delays in speech or loss of speech skills, repeating or echoing of phrases in place of normal language, and extreme sensory sensitivity to noise or lighting. Now, first up tonight, new research from the University of North Carolina. It's a small study, but it's getting a lot of attention.
Some are even calling it a breakthrough, and here's why. Its first of its kind study accurately predicts autism in infants.
A new study out of North Carolina igniting new excitement for early detection of autism in some children.
It's an exciting study because it takes us closer to where we start to see some of these changes in the brain.
Dr. Pankari Vandana is a child psychologist at Nationwide Children's Hospital, working with children on the autism spectrum. She says early detection is critical, getting children the help and the therapies they need to thrive in life. And this new study aims to diagnose children earlier than ever. In the study, researchers at UNC used brain scans to predict which babies would be diagnosed with autism. The scans were taken at 6 months, 12 months, and 2 years, and looked at brain volume. The scans were taken on 109 high-risk babies who had older siblings with autism, and 42 infants with no family history of autism. With the scans, researchers were able to predict with an 80% accuracy rate which babies who had an older sibling with autism would be diagnosed with autism.
So what's exciting about this study is that we're actually able to look at brain scans, and again, this is the first study and it's a small population, but now the thought is to actually try to find some brain changes in the brain of 6 to 12 months old, and then be able to predict at a later time if they're going to actually meet the criteria for autism.
And that's the bottom line. This study takes us closer to being able to diagnose babies before they even turn 1. It's a small study, needs more research, but imagine what that means for the future of autism therapies and the difference it could make being able to help children on the spectrum years earlier. With all the stress, anxiety, and worry parents go through, this new piece of the puzzle offers new hope for those parents.
So from a parent's perspective, there is a lot of anxiety when you have a child already diagnosed and you have another one where you don't know which way it's going to go. So to be able to have that information may be very helpful for some parents to be able to sort of plan.
But what about new treatments and therapies for autism? Another first-of-its-kind study out of Duke University aimed to look at something brand new. Researchers wanted to see if children on the spectrum would benefit from a transfusion of their own umbilical cord blood containing rare stem cells.
Right before the age of 2, we were noticing some things that were peculiar.
Gracie would be off to herself in her own world.
Happy birthday to you.
A lot of hand movements.
Kicking, screaming, spitting, hitting. We would have tantrums pretty much daily. The day-to-day life was definitely a struggle.
3 months after her second birthday, we we received the diagnosis that she was autistic.
You beat me.
To see where she was and see where she is now, it's amazing. I would just say, I mean, it's a miracle.
I got an email one day that said Duke University was doing this study with cord blood stem cells and infusing it with kids with autism to see if it could help. And right away, I clicked respond, let's do it. It couldn't hurt.
We were willing to try anything at that point.
They did not tell us at all like what they expected it to do, so we really didn't know what to expect.
The study tested whether a child's own cord blood would be safe in treating autism. Cord blood, which is the baby's blood left over in the placenta or the afterbirth, after a baby's born, contains lots of different kinds of cells. In children with autism, we're relying on a cell that's in cord blood that's called a monocyte. Generally, we saw behaviors improve in the children at 6 months compared to their baseline studies.
Kitchen on today's table. You put the candle holder on the table and the candle on the candle holder.
We have to do and are doing a placebo-controlled randomized trial to really answer the question as to whether the cells are really making a difference or it's something else. We don't know if this therapy will be curative for autism, but I am hopeful that it could be curative in the long run.
Flew away.
Before this study, autism affected probably 75% of our day, and now autism maybe affects 10% of our day.
Cooper!
Was it the stem cells? All we know is that something happened to her. Like, whether it was the stem cells or whether it was natural progression
Or
at
was
this
it
point.
a combination?
Yeah, she got better. The tantrums just got way, way better.
She became more affectionate. She would hug you, kiss you more.
Social situations got better. She didn't freak out in a crowd as much.
You still see some of the small idiosyncrasies. It's still there. It's not a cure, but I think, again, it's supercharged her learning curve.
No, I got it.
The best compliment is we'll meet new people. We'll bring up the fact that Gracie has autism, and people are shocked. They're like, if you had not told me, I would have never known that your daughter has autism. Like, it's not the forefront of her anymore.
Fuzzbird. Gracie has changed a lot in these years. She used to like not talk, and she used to sometimes kick and fight, but now she doesn't do that anymore. She's very sweet, calm. I feel better. Like I like playing with my friends, and I just like playing with my sister. And hey, Grace, you're going higher than I am.
That's great. A year ago on this show, we reported on the fight for autism insurance parity in Ohio. Autism families have never been guaranteed coverage for scientifically proven therapies until now.
On January 4th of this year, Governor Kasich signed House Bill 463 into law, which mandates coverage for therapies until an affected person turns 14. And yesterday, a ceremonial signing by the governor extending autism health care. NBC4's Elise Chengari explains what this really means for families.
It's a huge step forward. I know there are a lot of people who struggle to get things covered, to, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy. Those things aren't cheap. And those parents whose child hasn't managed to make it hasn't been able to get the Medicaid for a child with disability, they do have to pay out of pocket.
This is Jessica. She tells me her son Damien was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. Finding a school after his mom says he was bullied, and at the same time trying to find the right types of therapy hasn't always been easy. Damien is 6 years old today and in kindergarten and attends school online through Ohio Virtual Academy. Jessica says this bill is a big step forward. In the past, her son has been denied coverage because of his diagnosis.
It's like denying someone insurance because they had a heart attack. It's a pre-existing condition. That's not okay.
Weekly sessions of applied behavior analysis, also known as ABA therapy for a child with autism, was paid for all out of pocket. With this law passed, it provides more extensive coverage for those therapy sessions for ages 14 and under.
There are more people are aware, and now all we need is the acceptance. Acceptance is what we are fighting for. We're no longer fighting for awareness. We want the acceptance.
Governor John Kasich was eager to ceremonially sign this bill today.
This is really critical to a lot of people who didn't know if they would be bankrupted trying to get their kids help. So this bill is really going to make a big difference.
And a proposed law to help people who can't always speak for themselves is gaining support at the Ohio State House. Representatives heard testimony this week on the bill, inspired by a man with autism who was arrested for an OVI despite being sober. NBC4's Courtney Yoon was there for the hearing and explains what's next for this proposed legislation.
Diane Page still remembers the day her son Chris was arrested.
It was very traumatizing for him and for us.
Chris Page was stopped for speeding last March, but failed field sobriety tests. We told you his story in October.
In the video that you did, it was huge to see Chris with handcuffs on in the back after he told them he had autism. And that officer said, well, you may have this medical condition, but we're not doctors.
His drunk driving charges were dropped, but his family has been pushing for changes to protect people like Chris.
And if this can save time and money and give peace of mind to individuals that have the communication disability that want to sign up for this, then I think it's a wonderful thing.
Representative Scott Wiggum heard similar concerns from people in his district. He's sponsoring a bill to create a voluntary registry through the Bureau of Motor Vehicles for people with communication disabilities such as autism or deafness. The information would come up when an officer makes a stop.
Knowing what the officer is encountering and that gap of communication and closing that gap.
For the Page family, this is a big step in the right direction.
It's what we need. It's going to make a difference. It's going to make a huge difference in treating individuals like autism that's a communication disability with respect.
Ahead on tonight's show, a look at how artists with autism are finding a new support system to create and find their voice.
Oh, this is our friend Julia.
It made national headlines last month, the new character on Sesame Street, which sparked a national conversation about autism, and how Ohio's biggest sports arena transformed a storage closet into the first sensory-friendly space in sports. All that ahead on the Autism Puzzle. Yeah, we have so many great stories ahead for you in the next 47 minutes or so. Wanted to remind you that we are taking your calls tonight about the subject of autism and really anything you want to know about autism, from treatment to diagnosis to long-term care, anything that's on your mind. We have assembled a panel of experts here to take those questions for you. The phone number is 614-821-4444. Give us a call. Do not be shy. We're happy to answer whatever you may want to know.
Or hop on Facebook Live. Go to our NBC4 Facebook page. We have a live chat going on right now, right at the top of the page. And those experts you see right there, they are there for you to take your questions. That's what tonight is all about. We'll be right back. Going to college can be a tough transition for anyone, but that is especially true for those on the spectrum. Catherine Jeffries tells us about a free program at the University of North Florida that is helping adults with autism make the adjustment.
Perfect. And then try this one too.
Life skills like ironing is just one thing students learn at college.
Yay, Ron, you did it.
But for students with autism or on the autism spectrum, doing laundry or socializing with roommates can be the most challenging part.
Nobody really teaches you that when you come to college. It's kind of figure it out on your own. And so we had a group of students who really struggled in some of those areas.
Some even dropped out.
Who's going to do this one?
So Tara Rowe helped develop a program called Thrive.
It's about helping us gain social skills, helping us gain career skills, and helping us to balance our lives.
Robert Rittenhouse is a junior and a member of Thrive.
It's encouraged me to not just befriend people in the Thrive program, but other people as well.
Students in Thrive work on social interactions in weekday meetups, life skill classes like this one, and career fairs. And it doesn't cost a dime.
We don't want to charge students anymore for working on the same skills that are needed, whether they're here or at home or in a workplace setting.
She says this is how it should be. Students should feel at home and connected to a university.
It's helped me steadily come out of my shell and to really take the initiative as far as a student here at UNF to own my time here and not just be a commuter, not just be one small part that doesn't, use his voice.
Now, locally, Columbus State offers the TRACK program to students with disabilities. TRACK stands for Transition Resources to Access College and Careers. The program provides a support system to help students transition to college and prepare them to achieve their goals.
All right, Ellie, some of our most creative, brilliant minds best express themselves through art, from the written word or the spoken word to visual creation. Art can forge pathways to better lives. In Ohio, one organization in particular works to make sure artistic expression includes people across a spectrum of abilities.
They value themselves here. They don't lead with their disability. They lead with what they can do on the stage.
The play's the thing, but the person's a true work of art.
If you wanna feel paradise, sadly look around and view it.
A performance from Shopworks Theater Company proves that point.
I never liked to be around big groups, so I never liked to dance in front of big groups or sing in front of big groups. I was always scared of doing that. But ever since I started here, it's like all those fears just went right out the door.
A group of adults with varying cognitive disabilities meet here each week to rehearse and reveal what's inside.
I like Disney music and Broadway music.
When I get somebody new that comes in and may only be able to talk to me through a puppet, and I accept that and build on that, and eventually the puppet goes away, a new character is born.
For Andy Wilmore, his musical talent was not revealed through song or dance or even playing an instrument.
It's interesting that art does portray a certain humanness and amplifies a certain humanness, magnifies it into clear vision.
Andy envisions and then composes music via his computer.
Button and I can add in notes.
He's currently in school at Capital University, hoping someday to compose for video games or even movie producers.
As an artist, as a composer, as someone on the spectrum, in all three of those regards, being able to network with other people is actually a passion of mine.
When artists like them seek support, VSA Ohio can help.
Arts unlock all kinds of possibilities, right? They make us human, they help us express ourselves, and they can lead to careers too.
VSA Ohio Director Aaron Hoppy works to connect artists with disabilities to their passions. It's a statewide agency which hosts art shows and supports performance groups geared toward people with autism or comparable disabilities.
Creating spaces where, yes, you are welcome here. We want you here. We want you in our doors.
There's a community waiting for us to happen to them. And VSA is like an agent. It's like a producer.
Art covers a broad spectrum of expression, just like autism itself, and collaboration on stage or on screen can lead to finding a new voice.
There's enough of a focus on the ways that art can help reduce, say, anxiety for people on the spectrum, help allow them to pursue passions and develop new passions, and give them the opportunity then to feel confident about as they gradually gain more and more skills. And that's really valuable for the autistic people.
Up next on our show, students at Ohio State make a night out a welcome possibility for autism families. And later, a young man who inspired a team and school just by being himself. That's ahead on the Autism Puzzle.
And the number to call, 614-821-4444. Those experts right there, they are ready to take your calls and answer your questions. And that's what tonight is all about, connecting you with resources and answering your questions.
It's a great setup we have because it's not only if you want to do it by phone, you can also do it via Facebook. And I'm watching this right now. The live chat is doing really well, and it's a great forum for you to ask your questions about autism. Head to the NBC4 Facebook page and get connected. Welcome back. Let's say you're out to dinner with kids. Chances are you're just trying to get through the meal without hair getting pulled or food getting thrown, standard kid stuff. But if a child in the family has autism, going out to dinner can seem like an impossible task. So this month, a group of students at Ohio State set out to make sure a night out gets a little easier.
It's chaos. If one's good, the other one's running around.
It is a struggle for us to go out as a family and to enjoy ourselves and not worry about what perhaps people are thinking or, sometimes it's negative.
But for this night, no one's worried about noises or stress. Ohio State hospitality students make sure of it. It's an event called Hospitality Listens, where OSU partners with Cameron Mitchell Restaurants and O'Calley for a real-world test to see how the students can best serve families of a person with autism.
We want to prepare our students when they graduate to serve the community effectively and to resolve contemporary problems. This is one of the issues that we want our students in terms of diversity and inclusivity to know, to understand, to have experience with. And what my real hope is that our graduates will go out into the larger community and replicate and serve families better everywhere.
The students discuss strategies to serve someone who may have anxiety or need a little extra time getting settled. Some restaurants are developing autism-friendly seating sections in their restaurants, which may be more quiet or cause less distractions.
We've learned about music and lighting and sound and menus.
As a parent, if I'm comfortable dealing with it, people around me tend to be a little more comfortable with it too.
At this event, the kids also get plenty of fun breaks, including the joys of old school video games.
Pac-Man.
In a giant box.
In a giant box. Pac-Man and food. I mean, perfect night.
And the families get a hospitable night together.
Some of our friends just had like these easier kids and perfect angels that clean up their room, and they're able to sit down and actually go out and have dinner. And for us, that was impossible. Even it's just being here tonight that we're not all alone, and that there's parents of kids just like the ones that we have to a certain degree, and it's just kind of reassuring.
We mentioned O'Calley in that piece as one of the partners in Hospitality Listens, and the director of O'Calley, Sean Henry, joins me here live to talk about other ways O'Calley contributes to assisting people on the spectrum. I know a lot about the organization. Sean, what can you tell people about what O'Calley is and what they do for people?
What we do, we'll be there to answer the phone tomorrow and every day of the year. So if anybody wants to call us, we'll be there to pick up the phone and start answering it and help them get to resources, training, anything they need. If they're home and they need books and resources, they get in touch with us. We'll send it right to the door, right? Resources to the door for free, home for free. If they have therapists that come to the house, we have training that is world-class, developed by the best researchers in the world. And it brings it right to there, and it's paced for them only, individualized, so we're there for them at any point.
And the modules you guys created, the autism modules you created, it's unbelievable training, and it's free.
It's free. So if you want to get in touch with your educational team, they can take it, go online, take it for free. It's self-paced. The grandparents, we often get calls after the show. It's great from grandparents. If they want to get online, it teaches them strategies, like specific strategies you can do when working with your child at home tomorrow.
Incredible.
Yeah.
O'Calley.org, correct?
O'Calley.org.
Sean, thanks as always.
Thank
Been a
you.
proud supporter of the Autism Puzzle for a long time. Much more on the puzzle coming up. Ahead on the Autism Puzzle, she's the new Sesame Street character designed to teach children about autism. An incredibly talented musician on the autism spectrum shows off his stunning skills. Plus, from nationwide arena to worldwide awareness, how people around the world marked Autism Awareness Day. Coming up. In our conversation with Sean, they were talking about people getting on the phone, and if you're curious, if you're looking for resources, if you're looking for help, if things aren't going quite right at school, we got people who can help you, and they can do it right now on the phone. 614-821-4444. Our call 4 lines are open. Any questions you may have, we've assembled a great panel of experts for you in that call bank right now, Ellie.
And that's really why we do this, is for you, our viewers, and to help you make that connection. And join us on our Facebook Live. This is a first for us. We've done live chats for quite a while now, but now we're doing them on Facebook. So go to the NBC4 Facebook page. It's right there at the top. You can join in on the conversation. It's easy, and those experts are there taking questions, lots of them tonight.
Welcome back. Children on the autism spectrum do not see many kids who look and sound like them on television. You'll find very few characters with autism on TV shows and cartoons.
But this week, Sesame Street introduced a new kid on the block. Her name is Julia, a fun-loving character making Muppet history on the beloved children's program.
After nearly a half-century on television, featuring hundreds of memorable Muppets, Sesame Street has a brand new friend to get to know, unlike any other.
Oh, who's this?
Oh, this is our friend Julia.
Like millions of Americans, Julia has autism.
What's autism?
Well, for Julia, it means that she might not answer you right away.
Julia is a 4-year-old preschooler with bright red hair, and she started as a character in Sesame Street books and the digital series in 2015, part of the See Amazing in All Children initiative. And she's now coming to life on the show.
Julia, you're so creative.
You're saying sometimes you felt kind of alone, like you were the only one with autism.
Jody Allard finally had a character with whom her daughter Charlotte could relate.
To me, it was just like seeing my daughter come to life on a screen as a Muppet.
After an overwhelming response from families like theirs, Sesame Street brought Julia to life. With help from puppeteer Stacy Gordon, whose son is also on the autism spectrum.
I hope that Julia brings positivity and love and acceptance around autism.
In the first episode, Big Bird struggles to understand Julia.
I don't think Julia likes me very much.
Julia doesn't talk much or make a lot of eye contact, but loves to draw, sing, and play.
She does things just a little differently, in a Julia sort of way.
They celebrate Julia and all the unique, fun, creative traits she brings to the show. And in the end, Big Bird understands that his friends are all different and all fun. A lesson Sesame Street hopes children everywhere will appreciate too.
We can all be friends.
Now, Julia is part of Sesame Workshops, free resource tools designed to build understanding about autism spectrum disorders. And Sesame is expanding their resources about autism with new digital videos, books, and ebooks available in both English and Spanish.
All right, now get ready to be blown away by some impressive skills on the guitar. Zane Harshaw is 21 years old. He's on the spectrum. He is an incredible guitarist, and he's from Central Ohio.
Zane also taught himself to play guitar. This is amazing. And now performs with a local band called the Blue Spectrum. NBC4's Rick Reitzel introduces us to Zane and his family.
Zane Harshaw was diagnosed with autism when he was 4 years old.
We were told a lot of can'ts, a lot of nevers, and we definitely were grieving, but we're thrilled to see him coming into his fullness and his gift now. He took 7 years of occupational therapy because when he was younger and first diagnosed, he had severe dexterity issues. He really struggled with handwriting.
Now at 21, Zane kicked off autism awareness for the Franklin County Commissioners. He's with a band called Blue Spectrum that includes other members diagnosed with autism. They've played public venues from El Rosa Villa locally to blues in Memphis on a big stage. Zane says he taught himself how to play the guitar.
I love the parts like what Stevie Ray Vaughan did. Yes, I watched him play behind his back.
That drew a standing ovation. His mom says there's a message here for other parents.
Our message, along with the therapies and early intervention, is getting your kid out there. It's really easy to isolate yourself when you have a disability, and people can have a lot of shame.
Michael Hartley's son was also diagnosed with autism at 4 years old.
It took me a while to kind of come to grips with it. I didn't talk publicly about it.
But now he's a member of the board on the Autism Walk and helped in the battle to get insurance coverage in Ohio for the treatment of autism. He says his son Xavier is now 9, turning 10 in 2 months.
There isn't a thing I would change. Our son is smart and charming, loving, a wonderful young boy.
Saying this month is about awareness and helping others.
What Zane's parents were in there doing, everything that they do is to try to help their child and help others.
Next on the Autism Puzzle, a noisy arena can be overwhelming for some people, but in Cleveland, they've found a solution. And speaking of basketball, how this team manager became a motivational force for his team. That's when the Autism Puzzle continues.
Yeah, we've got some great stories coming up here in the next half hour, and this is our special call for tonight. The number 614-821-4444. So the phones are ringing off the hook. If you don't get through right away, keep calling. But those folks there, they are there to take your questions, whatever that might be. And you're getting a lot of questions on the Facebook Live.
I was just looking at that, Ellie, looking at some of the questions that have come in via our Facebook Live chat. That's NBC4's Facebook page. Folks want to know about summer camp opportunities, about the idea of therapy pets. Is that an option for your child, perhaps? So some experts are here to take your questions. Again, that's NBC4's Facebook page. You'll see the live chat right there. Autism Puzzle continues right after this.
April is Autism Awareness Month, and COSI, the Center of Science and Industry in Columbus, is shining a light on autism. They welcomed children on the spectrum to enjoy a day of fun and science. NBC4's Mark Taylor has more.
It's one of the fastest growing developmental disorders in the U.S. and right now affects 1 in 68 children. Autism. Sunday, COSI is highlighting the disorder by holding a special day dedicated to kids on the spectrum and their families.
We want them to be tactile so they can feel and touch.
Activities are catered specifically to kids on the spectrum with everything from lower lights to lower sounds.
We know that children with autism and cognitive disabilities don't like loud sounds.
Gerlindy Higginbotham with COSI says the day is just one of several they hope to have this year so that all children can benefit and learn from the center.
And learn that science is friendly for everyone.
Earlier in the show, we told you about a registry to help police, identify people who may have a communication disorder. Training for police continues across the nation, and a 12-year-old boy is leading some of that training in New York. Reporter Liz Streppa has that story.
Walking into a room full of people can be a high-stress scenario for someone with autism.
He's got very limited speech.
But that's exactly what 12-year-old Hunter did on Monday. Hunter is nonverbal on the severe side of the autism spectrum. He's visiting to teach local law enforcement how to communicate with others like him.
And his mom has volunteered that if he does have a meltdown, she's not going to help.
Stephanie Cooper runs the Autism Law Enforcement Response Training, or ALERT. She travels around the country to reduce the stigma between law enforcement and people living with autism. But for her, it's much more than just a job.
I was an officer in New Orleans. I now live in Orlando, Florida. My son goes to a special charter school for children with autism.
She says people with autism are more likely to be abused or kidnapped, and they tend to wander off. When they have to engage with law enforcement, they can sometimes shut down. Cooper's solution? Autism sensory kits. Every officer she trains gets one for free. Inside are nonverbal communication cards.
It just helps them when it comes to interviewing an individual with autism.
A chew stick, a therapy brush, and a fidget cube. Participants say the training was a great way to learn.
We've seen people today who drive and have autism and people who are nonverbal, so you're dealing with a large spectrum, and it would be helpful to know how to interact.
Officers and people like Hunter stepping out of their comfort zones, learning to communicate effectively for when they need it the most.
Coming up next, celebrating World Autism Awareness Day here at home. We'll take you to some special events. And how a high schooler with autism led his high school basketball team from the bench. That's my guy, Wesley. You don't want to go anywhere. You missed that story. It's a great one. 614-821-4444. The call 4 lines are open for you. Any question you have related to autism. We get this every year, Ellie. We get these questions from parents, and they're curious about what maybe the warning says. What are the first thing that I could look for in my child if they may be developing autism?
And we get a lot of questions about insurance, the coverage there, and working with your school on programs. What works for your child? So all kinds of questions. That's why we assemble the experts and get them there so that you can ask your questions. The number again, 614-821-4444. We'll be right back.
Now, the reason we bring you this show every April is because April is Autism Awareness Month.
And this month we have seen a remarkable number of events around Ohio and the nation, really, celebrating the abilities and need for support for people on the spectrum.
Now, Sunday, April 2nd, we marked World Autism Awareness Day, a movement started by Autism Speaks to raise global awareness for people with autism. And that night we saw landmarks across downtown Columbus lit blue to show support for the cause. That blue theme extended to some of the most prominent structures in the world, including the White House, the Empire State Building, Rockefeller Center in New York, the CN Tower in Toronto, even the ancient city of Petra in Jordan, Christ the Redeemer in Rio de Janeiro, and the Great Pyramids in Egypt.
Yeah, it's been a thrilling Blue Jackets season, the best in team's history. And last week, the club welcomed families with children on the autism spectrum to join them for a special night at the rink. The Jackets Autism Awareness Night included pregame events for kids and their families. They did some cool arts and crafts, played some fun games, shot a few pucks, and then sat down to enjoy a CBJ game inside Nationwide Arena.
We're just out here with our son Jackson. The whole family's out, but Jackson's 7, who's autistic. We get to watch hockey all the time at the house, and they love it. So we come out, and it's a great time, and really appreciate everyone putting this on for us.
Now, for many of those kids, that was their first experience in a big sports arena. And think about it. Those arenas can be loud and overwhelming, especially for someone with a sensory sensitivity. In Cleveland, Quicken Loans Arena can be one of the loudest buildings in the NBA. I promise you that's true. But the Cavaliers say they want to make sure every fan feels welcome. So they went to work. You've never heard noise quite like the Cube.
Between the sound, between the noise, and the audio-visual combination of 20,562 rabid Cavs fans in the building.
And the Cavs feed off that energy, but the intensity of the arena does not fit every fan.
We talk about our world of we take care of every guest every time. And what we realized through this process was that mantra wasn't getting everybody under that umbrella, if you will.
So Julian Maha got to work.
We have built some amazing cities. But our cities, by and large, leave out about 20% of the population because that's the amount of people with disabilities in our country. And when you think about it, all of us, despite our external differences, want to belong. We want to be part of the community. No one ever wants to be left out.
Julian is a parent of a child with autism, and he operates an organization called Culture City, which provides autism resources and consults with companies on inclusion.
So what the bubble wall does is it helps from a visual aspect. It helps calm you. And basically just center you for a minute to help you understand that, yes, although things are very loud in your environment, it might be very, very crowded, this helps center you and calm you.
Julian helped the Cavs create the Quiet Space. It used to be a storage room in the building. Today, it's the first specifically designed sensory-friendly room in an American sports arena, and it's loaded with calming features.
This is actually a design that, although beautiful, is meant to be touched. It provides you with tactile stimulation.
It does not end with the Q room. The service staff at the Q has gone through extensive training on how to serve a guest affected by a sensory disorder.
It was really the cues and don'ts of the terminology that you use when engaging a guest with a disability, regardless of what that disability might have been. Tremendous for us. One of the favorite tweets I just saw was, now I can take my son to a Cavs game.
I think what they're going to hopefully get out of all this, whether they're adults or family, is the fact that the Q Arena now is a safe haven. I can come here And people not only understand my needs or my child's needs, but they are also trained in order to better serve me based on that.
Next, we close out our show with Wesley, a basketball team manager and true inspiration. Next.
Oh, I guarantee you do not want to miss that story. And thank you for joining us throughout this hour. We have our experts still available to ask those questions that you might have. The number is 614-821-4444.
It's a great panel of experts, and what I think is interesting, we asked them earlier, what are the questions you're getting, and a lot of folks are calling for very basic information, and there is no shame in that. That is the point of this panel, to give you very basic information on warning signs of autism, what to look for in a young person if you suspect that autism could be something that you see. Again, 614-821-4444. We'll be right back. Wesley Walters will graduate from Olentangy Liberty High School this spring. He is a young man on the autism spectrum who for the past 4 years has served as a team manager for the basketball program there. He's always cheered for his friends on the court, but this season on senior night, they cheered for him.
The seniors from our varsity basketball team.
I'm proud of you.
But this time, the manager's the star.
You're going to finish it off with a bang, aren't you?
It's just an amazing day for all of us.
And next is Wesley Walters.
Hi, buddy. Oh, I love you.
Thank you. Wesley's path to this moment started before he started school. He was diagnosed with autism as a young boy, but able to attend typical schools, and immediately he made an impression.
He was actually probably one of my first friends I've ever met. He definitely had a hard time, making some friends at that point, because, at that age, most people just aren't that, understanding.
Wesley found his home in hoops, joining the middle school basketball team as a manager, and when he got to high school...
He was in my phys ed class, and he came up to me one day, I'll never forget, probably in September, and said, I like basketball, and I want to help out.
You're on the right side, go!
For 4 years, Wesley's never missed a practice or a chance to offer support.
They need to get bigger and stronger and work as a team.
He's also taught the players a few things. For example, Wesley's love for Thomas the Tank Engine.
I know there's Gordon and Henry and Edward and the other engines. They're so cool.
And we've had a fun time talking about that. He's even gotten me to watch a couple of episodes and stuff. He gave everyone on the team a character name.
What's your character name?
I'm engine number 11.
I get Trey Stabline, I name him James, the red engine. He's so cool.
All right, good luck, bud.
And before tip-off, Wesley offers wise words.
I'm very proud of you guys that you did a good job. Now, let's do this and let's win this game and beat Gilborn. You got it? All right, let's do it.
He's all about, keeping them fired up, keeping them focused, and he gets frustrated when they're not.
Oh, no.
When I'm out there and I mess up or something, I have my head down, he'll just come up to me and be like, come on, Brett, let's go.
Now we're talking.
It's going to be over pretty soon. Will you miss it?
Yeah, indeed, I will. No, I'm going to miss them all. But I'll be back sometimes. That is really good.
Oh, what a gem. Thank you for joining us tonight.
9 years of the Autism Puzzle. Couldn't have done it without you. Thanks.
Central